Welcome to this Mastery Empowerment course from New Earth One Network. This is designed exclusively for your higher self connection and embodiment. Welcome, everyone. We are so pleased to be here with a very special intuitive healer, Mona Delfino. She is someone who can tune you into the inner wisdom of your body, and help you release blocks, trauma, and emotional pain that actually manifests physically. Mona is here to talk about a path to awakening to perfect health, the cause and effect of illness. Hello, Mona. Thank you for being here.
Hi, Lauren. It's good to see you again. Thanks for having me.
It's wonderful to see you again. So the work that you do with the world, what is the most popular topic these days that you're dealing with?
Oh, wow. Actually, there's a lot. I have clients and I teach and I have all kinds of things on my plate. One of the most important topics, I think, right now is why people feel so stuck, or why they feel like they can't heal from something. And I think a lot of people are wanting to take their power back, honey, into their own hands and start recognizing what they can do better for themselves that might help them to feel like they can be healthier in a lot of ways, not just physically, even though physically is most important, but mentally and emotionally. This is a big deal right now. And a lot of people who are feeling out of sorts or feeling like they never had their power to begin with, that seems to be a topic. And so, when I work and I have like maybe 5 people a day for clientele, it's a theme of the day. And it's ironic because everybody has the same theme for that particular day. So I would answer your question by saying it's about people feeling like they want their power back, but they don't know how to get it.
It was a new level of balance on all fronts. And everything is up for renewal. Everything. You mentioned meditation. That is now a mainstream word. And there are so many apps out there and people are really into it. And, as we connect people to their hearts and people really listen to that wisdom of their body and their heart, that is New Earth. And it's beautiful because we can take inspired action and really bring solutions forward. When you said, right, so sometimes the body presents us with these pains, as we are to look at the thinking that creates these pains, is there a system that you use to trace that energy?
Yeah, there is. There is. It literally has to do with patterns, Lauren. It has to do with patterns and the way that we have always done things, the way we've always lived, or the way that we've always thought. These are stagnant energies. If we don't give ourselves permission to expand, and then we think we're doing something wrong if we don't, then there's something not balanced about that. We're at a point in time where the universe is asking us to let go and let out. It's almost like move it. Let's get it moving. And that's what we're here to do. And in movement, in the 5D, 6D, 7D kind of looking at that aspect of it, we're lifting our vibrations by releasing. So a lot of times we have to let go of these concepts that have made us feel like we're stressed out all the time. We forget to laugh. It's simple things like that. where we have to learn to play again. And that, like a child, that the children are changing the world. And so, we have to remember as adults that it's not just a responsibility we have, but we also have to play in order to feel like we have more room to now see from a new perspective.
Really focus on opportunities these days in the collective, opportunities for change and for solutions.
Yeah.
It feels divided out there, but we can overcome this. Can you share a little bit about, we know that when we see something out in the world, it's a mirror for what's within us.
Yes.
Can you share a little bit more? I mean, and so it also seems like, wow, so if we see something in the collective that doesn't feel right, we really have to journey inward and see that that is something deeply within us.
Yes.
And that that's kind of hard to swallow at times, but there's power to that.
Yes, honey, there is. Everything is biofeedback. Everything that you live, everything that you have in your home, the animals you choose, the bed you sleep in, everything is biofeedback to your soul. It means you chose this on some level, and it biofeedbacks. It's a loop. And so energy becomes a loop, see? And then, so it's how we live. That's why we get stuck in it, because we don't see any difference. We just keep going in certain ways. Like you said, if something doesn't feel right, that's when you know that something isn't correct in the balance of things for you. And so it takes consciousness, okay? And consciousness is really important, because that's what really creates heaven on earth. It's the conduit between your subconscious and your physical body. Your spirit is what accepts the conscious mind. That's why we are a soul, but we're a spirit that's the conduit for the soul in the physical. So if you look at it from that viewpoint, you can say, okay, so all of our things that we're presenting, our receiving, our giving, everything is based on what our spirits have chosen. Doesn't always mean it's the best for us. It just means that's what we've learned. And a lot of it, like Dr. Bruce Lipton, who I love dearly, he says, it's our environment. It's how we are raised. It's what we think about when we are growing up. It's how we feel if we're going to get in trouble or not. So what do? We create these patterns to protect ourselves, and then we keep living only that. And sooner or later, that's going to crunch down. That's going to fall apart. It's not, it's like fathomable. We think that everything is just a certain way. It will fall like everything does, because there is nothing in concrete in this world. Nothing is in stone. Not one thing, not even your body. And that's the beauty of knowing that you're a creator. So you can accept things, you can bring things in a new way without being afraid of it.
So the patterns, one is, how do we break a pattern when we're working with that? How do we recognize it, and how do we break it so that we can bring in that new?
You have to have a distraction. What I found with a lot of my clients is there has to be a distraction to change it. Because if you stop and think about it, our thoughts create what we're doing all the time. These thoughts can become a menace to our own society. And basically, they're right there all the time. So it's in changing the thinking or the perception of our thinking that will help us to move through. Now, there's a lot of people that ask me the same question, and I always ask them personally, I'll go, hey, what about going outside? Do you have a garden? Are you growing flowers in your back? Or can you take a walk and find those flowers? You want to be conscious. Remember, consciousness is what changes the concept of where you've been. You don't always have to know how or why. You are not, you're not like a robot. So what you'll want to do is just like go out and enjoy yourself, instead of keeping yourself creeped up into these negative thoughts or these situations that come up, or even family members. Sometimes it can be very hard on people. What you want to do is find a distraction. Sometimes you want to get a hobby. You can find a new hobby. That's a big one for a lot of people. They like taking new classes, especially now that we are post-COVID. That, there's a lot of new classes that are coming out that we want to do, and we want to be around people again. So, we're starting over again. This is why this is so important, right? But we can do it with changing our patterns by thinking that, well, let's do something new. Let's do something different. It's like taking another road to work. Instead of taking the same road over and over again, you might want to find a back road, and you might see something different because you're changing your environment.
There was a point where, wow, okay, let's tend to our environment. So people were cleaning up their spaces a little bit better, focusing on their families, really what is important in their life. So as it is starting new, it's really interesting that as people are moving about and getting back out there, there's a deeper consciousness. There's more awareness to, are we going to go back into those old patterns? And I think there's a significant change. Would you say?
Oh yeah, people are bored. If you stop and think about it, there's a lot of boredom to what we used to do. And it's like, that doesn't feel right anymore. So you talk about not feeling right. There's a lot of that going on. Yeah. The past is over, and we're ready to develop in something. But see, this is where we're at. We're kind of, the human race is at this point where moving forward, a lot of people think that they have to be doing something to move forward. And you're right. If somebody lays in bed all day, they're still processing something. They may not think they are, but they are. And I've always said that it doesn't matter what we're doing. It's what's going on inside of us, what's making us tick. And even if you're not busy, or you're not doing things, or you don't feel good, that's making you tick. It's making you recognize that you feel this way. One of the biggest things about feelings is we can't ignore them. They're very important to our growth. It's the decisions we make around the feelings that matter, and how that's going to also affect your physical body. But never lose your feelings. Don't ever take them for granted, because those feelings do count. You just have to learn sometimes that you want to move through them. And, it's very important. There was a book out many years ago, and it was from Barbara Marciniak. Do you remember that, Lauren? It was a book called Bringers of the Dawn. And that book came out in 1989. And I swear to you, that was the biggest eye-opener. It was a channeled book with the Pleiadians. And one of the biggest things that Barbara would say in there, it seemed almost redundant, is that people have a hard time accepting their feelings, their emotions, because they don't want to be wrong, or they want to bypass them. They want to pretend they don't exist. In the time period that this was written, it's still profound today, because what it means is that we don't move forward unless we feel the heart. The heart is the most important part of our body, and it comes back time and time again with you every time that you're born back into this world. So every time we're back here again, the same thing comes up in the heart. And I've seen it over and over and over again as a medical intuitive healer. I've read other people's lifetimes many, many times. And what happens is if, like, for example, if they drowned in another lifetime and they felt that they were betrayed by the ocean, they thought they should never have drowned because they knew how to steer a boat. They knew how to do it. In this lifetime, they'll be scared of the water. And so, they have to go in, and they're afraid of moving forward. You have to remember, past lives live within us as well. So we are coming through that with a very courageous mark. In other words, we're making decisions differently today than we did back then. And that's what stops us. A lot of times it's past life memories that kick up, and they come up to help us to redesign ourselves so that we don't have to continue to keep accepting those kinds of things that we don't want anymore.
Yes, fascinating about the heart and accepting our feelings and emotions. Can you describe the difference between emotions and feelings?
Yeah, I really didn't think I could, but I can. Okay. They're very similar, except what you have is you've got feelings are happening more in the moment. They happen, but so do emotions. The difference is that when you get a feeling, it's present in your body. You feel the gut. You can feel your gut, and sometimes it goes in knots. Sometimes people end up with constipation or diarrhea, or, certain things happen in the gut when you are avoiding your feelings, when you're avoiding them. It's like, I don't want to know that my son is in trouble. I don't want to know that such and such is happening. I don't like what the world's going through, so I'm going to ignore it. See, you can't ignore anything in spirit. It just doesn't work that way. But you have to remember that you always have a choice in seeing something or thinking something or changing your perception. Your belief systems are going to be a big part of that. So this is the difference between, so feelings are more like, I feel it in my gut. I feel it in my heart. I feel it in my head. My head feels funny. Those are the expressions we use when we're terming feelings, because it's more condensed. Okay. So emotions are more in your spiritual realm. So emotions come up because of something that feels out of sorts or feels like it should have been a certain way and it wasn't. So your emotion comes in to try to kind of fight that sometimes. And it's like, I don't want to feel this way. So your emotion comes in and it tries to talk to you through that sensation. Okay. It's the heart that you end up making a decision with. Do I love this beyond what my mind is telling me? Can I still love my mother even though she was angry with me? That's the difference. The emotion would say, my mom was a bitch. The feeling is, I still love my mother. So that's the difference between emotions and hearts. Your emotions will try to lead you in certain areas, but the heart is actually going to signify how you really feel, and it will tell you.
Let's go deeper into that. As we realize that emotions, they're actually getting stuck in the body, or they could get stuck in the body. How would you go and get them out? Or how would you start to work with those?
Well, the first thing you have to remember is that's the past. Everything that has been related to other situations that cause those emotions are in the past. It does not necessarily mean they are here in the present. You carry your emotions with you, even though you were a kid and you got hit by somebody and they told you to shut up and you remembered that because it hurt your feelings. So by the time you're older, you're careful on how you're speaking to people because you don't want anyone to tell you to shut up, kind of thing. It's just an example, but it's stuff like that. So by the time you get older, you have to remember that a lot of these emotions came from another experience, from another time period. It's like, you don't want to keep living that same time period. It's not here. Your mom passed away a long time ago. So what are you holding on to? So it's those kinds of concepts that come in today. You have to live in the moment in order to know that you can create in the moment.
As we are learning about past lives, and the heart is everything. Can you tie in how the heart is the portal to the past lives, or the portal to the quantum field, and those memories?
Mm-hmm. It's very interesting because in all of the readings I've done and the feelings I have, through those readings, it's fantastic because it shares a part of that soul. Remember, it's a soul contract. You came back for something. It's not a purpose. We have to be careful what we call purpose, because people don't think they have a purpose if they're bored, or they don't think they have a purpose if they didn't find the right job. We got to be really careful about that, because that's not what any of this is. It has to go further and deeper, as we've discussed, into what you're accepting in your feelings. What are you accepting in your heart? What's your priority? And so if you really stop and think, I've had people that go, I don't have anything to go on in my life. I don't really have any joy. And you know what that does in the body? It causes bloat and dry mouth. That's what happens physically. If we don't feel like we have any kind of joy in our life, or we're not satisfied, if we don't have satisfaction, our physical body will take that on as inflammation or a bloat in the gut. And so we have to find, that's happening a lot today, by the way. And then dry mouth happens because everything dries up. You don't have any flow, right? At that point, there's no flow. And you know how in Hawaii, everything's about flow and water and beauty and all that. So that's the way it was meant for us to live. We were meant to live like that. And so when we don't have this joy, or we feel as though we have stopped ourselves from being happy at some point, there's always a reason. Like you say, there's a cause and there's an effect. So sometimes we've got to go back into our world, and sometimes just sit quietly. Just sit quietly and look back onto your life and your challenges. Just go back there. And I'm going to tell you something. This is something that most people don't talk about. Those challenges that you went through were actual blessings for you. Each and every challenge had some sort of lesson that made you have to look at it from a different angle. Sometimes if we don't see it in our everyday life, then something becomes a challenge. And that challenge is there to hit you over the head. Just like anything else, it's better than a car accident. But a challenge will come in to make you have to say, okay, what can I do different? What can I do different? And that's when people search out. They usually wait until they're challenged. But, and rightfully so, because, I mean, we have to have some kind of a wake-up call to remind us that, maybe we can change our thinking at a different point of view. And I say at this point, be the observer. And one of the big things is when you're observing other people and you observe their life, that does not mean you're judging it. It means you're observing it. You can kind of see their patterns. You can look at other people's lives, and you can identify how their patterns have kept them in the same demise. They don't know it because they're living it every day. But you can see it because obviously you're not them. So one thing to remember, really important, is you're an individual. You're a very strong individual. And as I've said before in many teachings, we are all leaders to some degree. We are writing our own book. So as we continue in this world, and as we continue learning in this world, because everything here is a lesson, even a relationship is a lesson. So if you start looking at these lessons, there is your big eye opener right there. What are you learning from the things you're encountering as biofeedback?
Would you say that it's all to bring us back into the heart and making decisions from the heart? Is that the key?
Yes, yes, yes. Because when we leave this world, we're going to go away with that. We're going to go away from this world with what we have presented here, what we've heard. And I always say, you listen to your body and your body will listen to you. It is a marriage. It's a oneness while we are on this planet. So to really keep yourself in a healthy situation, you want to remember that you deserve to know yourself. You deserve to know the feelings that you've carried, and don't feel bad. There's nothing wrong with you, and there's nothing wrong with them. There is never anything wrong. Spirit does never see our hearts as being in a wrong position. Okay, we made that up. We were taught that many years ago by different cultures and religions, but there's nothing wrong with us. We are here to learn and to adventure and to identify and to enjoy. That's what we're here for.
Yay. Let's get busy with that. So I know I can hear some questions. Let's talk a little bit about two things. One, how we can listen to the heart in making decisions, because that just, some may just absolutely have no idea. And the other is how to listen to the body.
Okay. Listening to the heart requires consciousness. It requires you to be quiet. And you don't have to go into meditation for 3 hours, like Deepak Chopra. You don't have to do that. You have to be able, though, to sit quietly sometimes and just don't have any interruptions. Go to a place where you don't have any interruptions, and a place where you feel good, a place where you feel like, it welcomes you. Some kind of a welcoming place, even if it's a comfortable chair. And you want to breathe slower. One of the things is you take 4 seconds in and 4 seconds out. And you practice this for the heart. When you go in and out, you start concentrating on your breath. That means you throw everything else out. Right now, nothing else matters. So you just concentrate on the breath. And then what happens is you put your hand over your heart, because a lot of people can't necessarily, they're so busy that they don't find the time to do this. But you've got to sit quietly and you put your hand over your heart and ask your heart what it wants you to know. That way the mind goes ding, 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 ding. I'm waiting for an answer. See? And so you want to sit and you want to ask your own heart how you feel about something. You can take a scenario, it'll pop into your head. Once you're in alignment, you'll start getting this and you'll start feeling like, okay, how do I really feel about such and such? How do I feel about this or that? And remember, there's two sides to every coin. Okay, so it means that you might start saying, I feel like I've been hurt. I feel like I've been abandoned and disappointed in my life. And there's another part of you that doesn't realize it. But if you listen to the heart might tell you it was the best thing that ever could have happened to you. We just don't know that. We think that 3D world, families are supposed to be like this. Everything's supposed to be Pleasantville, Where did that come from? It was never supposed to be. Supposed to isn't even a word in spirit. So when we stop and think about it, it's what we created and what we thought we created. It's a false concept. And so we blame ourselves when we don't live up to a false concept. And this is why it's so important for us to understand the 3D world is only based on what other people thought that it should be, or what you learned from other people who thought it should be like this. Never in a million years has any leader listened to that degree and thought only that way. Leaders have a tendency to change the concept, to literally go inside, feel the heart, feel what it's trying to say, and then you gain wisdom. Once you start listening to your heart, you will find wisdom there. And wisdom will tell you at that point, it's called balance. And what is balance in the body? Homeostasis. Homeostasis is the word we use in our science field when we understand that the body is exactly flowing the way it should be. The body wants balance. It's constantly craving balance. We're the ones who are out of balance. We just give ourselves too much flightiness and we don't sit still long enough to really gain wisdom or to listen to the heart when we're in a certain situation. So all of this matters. Your physical body will tell you. Sometimes you'll get little goosebumps if you hear somebody talk or a song comes on the radio. Your physical body will actually respond to that. You might get all of a sudden this feeling of, I remember that song that happened in 1976 when I used to lay on the beach as a teenager. And I remember so-and-so was there. Memories come back. And memories are not necessarily all bad. And sometimes memories actually kick in a new beginning. I used to work in a nursing home. And when I was a nurse, and I remember we had a bluegrass band that came in, and it was on the 4th floor. I was on the 6th floor, and the 6th floor was all of the people who had Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. And so I was working on a very hard floor, and we had 74 patients on that floor. And I remember that they did not ask that band to come upstairs because they didn't like the smell. That's the band. It wasn't the band's fault. It was the administrators. They didn't want anybody thinking poorly about our facility. So they didn't ask the band members. I ran down there and I got the band members to come up to the 6th floor. I just pleasantly asked them if they would. Sure, they were happy about that. So they come upstairs, they set up, and I went against administration. I just said, that you guys don't matter to me right now. I want my people happy. I want to see what happens with my people. And this was back in the early 80s. And I remember that band came upstairs. They set up, they had all kinds of things. They had a cello, they had a fiddle, they had guitars, they had banjos, and they were up there in the main room where our people eat. So I would go down and I'd had 3 or 4 other CNAs come in, and they were wheeling people to the main room. And it was like, come on, hurry up. We got to go. We've got this band playing. We want them out here. So we pick everybody up and we put them all out there. They changed their entire facade. We did not know who these people were. The minute that the band started to play, one woman who was so mad and so angry, and she would hit people if they tried to do anything for her. She would just constantly hit. Her eyes, I watched her eyes completely shifted, and she looked around, and this woman had Parkinson's, but she looked around and she had a smile on her face and her head was bobbing. And the next thing you know, they started clapping and they're enjoying and they're tapping their feet, and all of them are doing it together. And we had probably 40 or 45 people that were wheeled into that room at that time. And to watch my people come alive and see them differently, nothing like it, nothing like it. So memories have a tendency to make us complete. It makes us whole again. So there's nothing wrong with memory. It's only if we hold on to something emotionally, again, that made us feel like we were in trauma and that we're trying to protect. That's what we want to start changing.
So then how do we listen to the body?
Mm-hmm. It's the same kind of thing. The body has reactions. Now, the important part is, like I said, when the body starts to, we think it's falling apart. Okay. The first thing we do is think there's something wrong. It's the first thing that happens to our brain. Oh, there's something wrong. There's something the matter. Oh, my toe hurts. It won't stop. Oh, no, I have a nerve problem. My knee hurts. The first thing we think of, there's something wrong. Why do we do that? Because we're not used to that feeling. We're not used to it. It makes us conscious. The body makes us conscious of knowing that there are certain parts of the body that are trying to get your attention. The body has a language. It's like in my book, The Sacred Language of the Human Body. It has a language, and it tells us that the knees are about, feeling like whether or not we're supported. Do we have a leg to stand on? And that also goes for sciatica. If we feel like we're not being supported, then we feel like we sometimes have to walk this world on our own. And that will sometimes make us feel weak. So it can hit in the knee, it can hit in the hip, it can hit in the groin, or the foot. The foot is our foundation. And the ankle is the acceptance of the new foundation. The ankle is what moves to help us to move into a new direction. All joints are about flexibility. People will sprain their ankles if they don't know where they're going and they're unsure, and they get stuck in a point where, oh no, what am I going to do next? How am I going to go through this? I don't know if I want to move forward or not. And if you stay in that place too long, the body gives you some kind of an indication that you've got to move forward. There's a lot to that one.
Yes. Okay. So you work with clients and help them understand the wisdom of their own bodies. And you also teach. And you're going to be conducting a class on the New Earth One Network. Tell us about this course.
This course is going to be an eye-opener. It's going to help people see that you were not created by any accident at all. There's no such thing, as we all know when we listen to these programs like yours, Lauren. There's no accidents, and the body is not an accident. Anybody that has developed into an autoimmune dysfunction, for example, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the cause and effect as to why certain things come into the body. Now, there's always a reason. The word random doesn't really even exist in science if you stop and think about it, because if science can't prove it, it gets thrown out the window, right? So what we do is we say, well, there's more to the story. So there's more energy coming in to tell us why. And in spirit's world, there could be several reasons. It doesn't have to be just one. But in our world, the way we understand it is I can give you a clear recognition as to what the vibrations are that cause certain diseases or that cause certain problems in the body. And then I can talk about the body's function and where in the body is all of this, and how does the heart present itself in the rest of the body. We can talk about that. Why do we carry so much on our shoulders? Shoulders are taken on the weight of the world, right? But then we also have the other parts. I remember years ago, we had a bunch of people coming in for appointments, and they all had frozen shoulder. When I found out what their profession was, they were all teachers for elementary schools. And everyone had a frozen shoulder. So I started reading the frozen shoulder, and I started going, oh, that's interesting. Let's find out why that's there. It was being told what to do. They didn't like being told what to do. And so they were getting stuck. They were getting stuck in what they thought they had to present, because that was their job. That was their whole life. And so they were now stuck in that because the administrations were saying, you can't teach that, you can't teach that, you can't teach that. And then they were having a hard time because they could only afford so much. They were buying supplies for the kids on their own with their own money, things like that. Back in the day, it was really hard on teachers. They don't make much money. So when I started noticing that that was a pattern, so to speak, a lot of people were going through it at that time. So I've had 40 years of this, Lauren. I've had at least 40 years where I can sit there and tell you that I know what these conditions are based in. And you talk about conditioned to unconditional. So your condition is part of what you are becoming aware of that could involve a disease, or it could involve a sore throat. It could involve a headache. That's a condition. Okay. When you're unconditional, and as we've talked about, a new way of looking at things, a new perception, there's always two sides of the coin, right? So you want to see what's the positive side of this situation. What am I learning from this? Well, I'm learning that this is limiting and I don't want to be here anymore. Okay, that's a good sign. So, when you stop and really think about some of the things that you can do differently, you can learn from this adventure. And so it'll be my job to teach you all of this and to present to you learning more about how to be unconditional. And that again comes from the heart. So we're going to start rising our vibration up a little bit higher so that you can feel more balanced in your life, and you won't feel like you're down here hoping that you get something out of it. It's not what it's going to be at all. It's going to be, you are definitely involved in this. And yes, you are capable of doing everything you want. So let's get there.
And this course is perfect for what type of person? Who is this good for? People will come and ask questions, I'm sure.
Everybody and anybody. This is not going to be limited to certain types of people. This is people who maybe have had dysfunctions in life, who've had physical dysfunctions, people who know other people that have and want to help them. This is for anybody that wants more education for the physical body. And a lot of people are energy runners, or they're starting to learn more about energy. This is going to focus on what that is and the cause and effect of the energy that's been put out. That's what this will teach you.
So when we look at things, let's say 5G, for example, can you speak a little bit about our own innate ability? Do we have an ability to transcend that 5G frequency?
Absolutely. Without a doubt. When it first came in, I remember a lot of people freaking out. And I remember people saying, this is going to harm the world. And, it's you have to remember, everything is timing. When 5G came on, it was timing. And yeah, it did make a lot of people scared because it was a new development of a kind of an invasive energies that were coming through that may affect us on some level, but we didn't even know how that would happen. And so we were only listening to the positive and the negatives of it, but we didn't realize we had the capability to change it. I know a lot of people who buy those little EMF dots that say you can put them on your phone, you can put them on your computers and things like that. You have to ask yourself, would a device like that really work? The reason I say that is we are the device, and we don't have to accept it. We don't have to feel that. If we're more balanced and centered in the moment that we are, we're sacred beings. We're sovereign beings. And if that's the case, then why are we dumbing ourselves down to think that we're being attacked? You see what I mean? That is not necessary. We have to recognize today that we are empowered by being able to feel that we can do something new. And one of the things I love, and it's my trademark, is to do empowerment statements for people. And at the end of these courses, it will be all about doing empowerment statements to help people to understand that you will feel a new way once we get done. Empowerment statements only take about a minute or two, but everybody loves those because it makes them think, yeah, that's right. That's how I feel. That's how I feel. So we just confirm a new way of looking at things through an empowerment statement. And that's, you learn that, and you'll have the recording for it. So it'll make you feel like, hey, I can go back and listen to that anytime. Once you leave this class, you're going to be different. I will guarantee it. I will guarantee it. You will feel different.
Feeling different, feeling in alignment for sure. You really are an alignment technician and helping people feel empowered. And balanced. Absolutely.
Somebody called
So
me a subject matter expert.
yes, absolutely. A beautiful guide and a beautiful teacher for so many. So we invite those to register for that course. All the details are right here on this webpage. So Mona, as we learn about our own sovereignty, what does that word sovereignty mean to you?
It means leadership and balance. It means loving yourself enough to know that you have the right to feel, think, move, care, decide. You are your own leader. You are your own world. You're writing your own book. And so sovereign means identifying your own independence as a leader. And whether you think you're a leader or not, you really have a lot of energy, and you reflect, your energy reflects to the other side of the world. Because what you do, what you think, what you say, if it comes into the system, the body, that where you're really truly understanding yourself, you, in a very quiet moment, are changing the world from the other side. It's like the butterfly wings, and, they say that the butterfly does this, but those feelings of the butterfly wings are felt on the opposite side of the world. That's quantum physics. And so this is what we're going to be doing, is we're talking quantum healing and quantum physics.
Absolutely. And really staying in alignment and getting in alignment and truly understanding what that means and listening to our body. It's a beautiful, sacred wisdom. You've even authored a book on such topic. And Mona Delfino is here to help you to discover who you truly are. Mona, as we wrap up today, I want to just give you a moment to share any final thoughts.
My final thoughts, Lauren, would be, please know that you are not doing anything wrong. Please know that there's nothing like that on the side of spirit. Our spirits, we have been engaged in believing right or wrong in this world. And I say, thank God that we're coming out of that, because the truth is, as a unity and a wholeness of wise humans, and we're just, some are very, very lost right now, but that does not mean that you throw the baby out with the bathwater. So what we're doing is learning how to identify more consciously within ourselves. And remember, you are doing your best. And even if you don't think you are, yes, you are, because most people don't want to live in negativity, and most people do not want to live in pain. So we're here to help you to understand how to rise above all of it.
And what a powerful time for that. And once we do that, we assist others in doing that as well. And that is leadership.
That's leadership.
Thank you, Mona Delfino. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Lauren. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.